This segment of Delmarva Life is brought to you by Peninsula Regional Medical Center.
Most of us parents probably have a story or two about when our kids pulled some kind of stunt. And maybe they've tried to see just how long they could hold hot sauce in their mouth or maybe swallow a spoonful of cinnamon. Well, there's a new trend that some kids are trying, and it is nothing to laugh about. They're taking the popular classic small candies that come in rolls, they're crushing them up, and then snorting or inhaling them as if it were a drug. Well, joining us today to tell us more about this is Dr. Chris Snyder, who is the Chief Medical Informatic Officer and Hospitalist at Peninsula Regional Medical Center. Thank you so much for coming in this afternoon. I've never heard of this before. This isn't a hoax.
No, actually they're publishing this online, so we're seeing candy being crushed and utilized by, and a lot of it's imitation, a lot of it's things they're seeing on TV and on the internet, and I think the amazing thing is the age of these folks, children doing this is alarming to see this behavior. So it's extremely dangerous and scary behavior.
So there's not something to this. It's not like they're getting a buzz off of it or anything.
No, no. This is actually they may cause more irritation in the nasal passage. So you know, again, the nasal passage is there to filter air. It's not necessarily there to accept nutrition. So and when you take sugar and you inhale it through your nose, it very well could cause significant irritation, maybe nosebleeds even with it. But I haven't personally seen a case of this, but after reading about it, it's a little scary. Just the psychologic practice of what they're doing and the behavior, the imitation of a drug dealer or a drug user is really alarming.
I'm glad you brought that up. I want to ask you about that here in just a second. But first, let me ask you, doing something like this, can they actually clog up their nasal passages? No,
the nose actually communicates with the mouth, so anything that goes in the nose actually goes down the back of the throat and anatomically. Like I said, it can be real irritating that the mucus or the membranes in the nose aren't made to handle high dose sugar at that point, so it could be more irritating than anything. And those areas are pretty brittle. Those of you who've had nosebleeds will absolutely be able to say it can be aggravated very easily, even just by dry air.
Well, can it make it all the way into the lungs?
Yeah, technically you could inhale it, but most of the time you're going to cough before that occurs, just because of the fact that the sugar would cause irritation in the airway. Okay.
You mentioned it. I want to get back to it, talking about I guess the mental health of the kids that are trying this. What are your thoughts on that?
Very scary. Again, kids shouldn't play in the street either with moving traffic. So you're basically playing with fire with this. You're imitating something of a behavior that's extremely dangerous. The unfortunate thing is that kids really, you don't know what they're snorting, whether it's candy or sugar or cinnamon. Again, it's the psychologic behavior and the imitation. We've all had older siblings, and we are told to behave as a 12-year-old, not as a 20-year-old. So again, I think the maturity of these folks is what's really scary, because they're seeing this stuff on TV, and it's glamorous. It's unfortunately glamorized in a lot of the police shows that are out there, and it's really not appropriate behavior.
Let me ask you this: something about kids maybe finding maggots up their nose too?
Yeah, I've not seen that. I've seen that in folks who are homeless and incapacitated, and they come into the emergency room. We've had unfortunate victims of events that are really, but movement, mobility, nasal breathing, typically I guess you could get maggots, but again, that would do with the irritation and the bleeding probably. Maggots come from flies, so they lay eggs in your nose, so you'd have to be immobile for the fly to land. So
I got to tell you, this entire topic here is completely new to me. I was never aware of any of this. Is there something that we can look for? Any kind of sign that we might be able to pick up from our kids that this is going on?
Yeah, well, again, if you're seeing rolled up dollar bills, straws with coatings on them, you should always be suspicious. I'm a parent, and I'm very suspicious about everything. So, your teenagers or even preteens in this case, really you need to be aware of what they're doing and evaluate their rooms and be a detective on your own. But looking for rolled up dollar bills and possibly dust or crushed candy is always something to question. But be honest with them, be open with them, and follow them.
As parents, we've got to stay on our toes.
Absolutely.
Dr. Chris Snyder, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Wow, how about that? Now, if you'd like to read more about PRMC, all you have to do is go to delmarvalife.com and click on the show tab. And while we're talking about keeping our kids safe, do yours know how to swim? A lot of kids don't, and that can put their life in jeopardy. Up next, how swimming lessons can help and at what age your kids should start. A little later on, we already showed you a few of the most anticipated commercials during the big game this weekend, but we're not finished. Wait till you see some of the other comical commercials and find out what's on the line for the filmmakers behind them.